My name is Adjournment.
Recording in progress.
I'm the chair of the Burlington Development Review Board. I'm going to call today, Wednesday, March 5th, 2025, meeting to order. We have one item on the agenda today, 17 Van Patten Parkway Certificate of Appropriateness Review. And we have the applicant here, we have a neighbor here. So I'm going to ask anybody who thinks they might want to be heard on this application to raise their right hand and state that testimony you're about to give is true and correct and pains and penalties of perjury. True? Aye. Aye. Thank you. And we're running and you just walked in. But
I understand, I'm sorry.
don't worry about it. We have, introduce yourself. We have the staff minutes, we have the staff summary of the project, recommendations. So we generally understand what you want to do, but just walk us through what you're proposing to do and why you want to do it.
Okay, my name is Andrew Stratton, and me and my partner Skylar Baer, who's the owner of the property, are looking to just replace essentially the old retaining wall that is on the south side of the property end. There's photos, if you click down into it and see, you can see the previous wall was old railroad ties that were run together in a tiered system. And upon an inspection report that was done when we were initially looking at the property, it said critical failure on it. So the first thing we did when we got that place is we started doing research as to improving this section because it does connect to our neighbor's property. So we want to make sure that that is sound and structural so it lasts for a long time essentially. If you click through just multiple sections of the photos, you can see this is what's keeping up our south side of our property. So we reached out to Tucker, who is our landscaper and contractor for this, and he has done the work to work with Ready Rock to find the proper engineered drawings. We've got a surveyor who's done the surveying of the land and the property, figuring out all the slopes and all of that kind of stuff for it. So we just really want to build something a little more structurally sound.
Yep. Okay. Have you spoken, one of the conditions, one of the requirements is that you have to review this with the city engineer. Have you had any conversations with the city engineer yet for this?
I have not discussed it, but the last thing that was left in Garrett's messages was that the city engineer was going to be looking over it, I believe, right?
When it goes through the building permit process, the city engineer will review.
Yeah, so have they gotten to that point yet, I guess?
It goes through zoning before it goes to.
Okay, gotcha.
And Garrett, this is a question for you on the conditions of approval. It says to be a geotechnical analysis will be required. What does that mean? One, do we normally get that before approval? I don't think we necessarily do. I'm thinking of the project that never went anywhere on. It's the thing by the slope or yeah. And two, what does that actually mean? That's separate than the city engineer review?
Yes. All right.
Yes, right.
So that amendment specifically says that the board levy this condition following approval because the upfront cost without having a permit in hand is substantial. So what does it mean? It means if you guys approve it, yes, it has to go to the building inspector. Our building inspector does need to do that. So go to the city engineer, but it does require a geotechnical analysis by a geotechnical engineer. Maybe Ready Rock has that on staff, maybe.
For any retaining wall?
For any project, including development of structure within a steep slope overlay.
This side is a steep slope.
Yes, it looks steep.
And we can't waive that for any size project.
Um,
Question whether we need geotech.
Waive it I don't think so, there's thresholds for requiring it, and this is above
It
it.
seems like a relatively small. Okay. I just note that, that's just, it's conditional.
It's there for a reason, so yeah.
Proposing being standard.
Since that amendment was done, we've only had 1 or 2 projects come through that.
And perhaps maybe those did geotech anyway, they.
Probably.
Okay, does the board have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, there's at least one picture which shows which trees are gonna be cut down. I'm wondering whether you yourself went out and did that or the engineer, and I guess how specific that is. We've had issues with other applicants cutting down trees, and I'm wondering how kind of targeted your tree cutting is.
So it wasn't me, it was the tree cutting service that Tucker used. I can find the name for you, I don't have it off of me right at the top, but yeah, that's not a self.
That's fine.
So is that entire area of green going to be basically clear cut for the wall construction?
No, so that I believe is just the brush overlay of all the existing trees. The red X's are the trees that are coming down. And essentially the wall, I mean, if you I walk up there
Yeah.
just to show you, I believe the wall falls right like on this line of trees here. It might even, it doesn't actually access these points. If you can jump back, you can see the actual yellow line of where it goes. So all the trees in front of this section are staying essentially, and the wall, and then these were just removed because they're in the section that would need to be cleared and dropped for gravel.
So there will be vegetation, trees, brush uphill of that wall between the property line and the wall.
No, there's no vegetation uphill of the wall. All the vegetation will live downhill of the wall.
So the area between the wall and the property line with the Broad and O'Keefe property is going to be cleared. Do I have that right?
And just between my property, so the house and the wall will be cleared. Anything past the wall, there will still be trees.
Okay.
So between his property and
Maybe I
ours,
put the elevations then. Okay, I got it. I understand. Got it. Where that silt fence is marked, we'll still have trees.
Correct,
Got it.
correct.
I put the elevations, understand it. Any other questions from the board? Sir, comments, questions?
It's like so much work that you had to do. I have said this to you guys before, but I think just my main consideration for this is just like how it's going to change and shed water on that slope from their property onto ours, because it's a hill, so it's gonna have to go downhill. And if I recall from our conversation, we talked about this, it's gonna have like a catchment in it, right? It'll like drain down and then kind of like funnel back.
There's 2 ways it does it. So there is a drain pipe that will run. I can't remember the diameter right off the top of my head, but that will run the property length
Yep,
to the backside over here.
yep,
And then if you look at the actual Ready Rock drawings, there's actual portholes on all of the walls, so it allows actual drainage to your property side as well. So it's a little more even, but
Yeah.
say we got insane water like we did last year. That excess water will flow away from your property
to the rear.
to the rear.
Yeah. And so if I can just come up and show, I was just hoping to make sure that water made it kind of a past this exposed ledge, right? Like I've shown you
Yeah.
that, right? Like that it drains far enough back, so it, because we have like a terrace like right about here that we spend time on, and just making sure water flow is like adequately pushed, so we don't just end up with like a pool like down in our property.
Yeah, so if you go, can you go back just to the overall wall length? So yeah, so our wall runs past, I believe, where that is. So the drainage will come out on this backside.
Will come out on that
Yeah,
backside.
and like to the cities, we can put the drainage wherever we need. If you guys have a problem with it coming out right on this section, if we need to run it a little farther distant, that is. Dropping the drainage exit line is the easiest part of it in the scheme of things for us. So we can definitely move that farther out if.
Wherever designers are considering
Yeah,
putting it,
yeah.
you know, that I just wanted to kind of have that on record, that that's my property owner next to it, just like be on the record that that's my main concern is where and how they're funneling it, so it doesn't pool up on
Yeah,
that property.
that makes complete sense, and it was our understanding that running into the street was. Not as good of a choice as running it the actual backside of the property.
Probably true.
Because of just what that property is, there is the land there, there is the ability for it to absorb that excess water.
Is the grading on the southeast section there, which shows that to help facilitate the drainage?
Is it?
Where the dark line?
Oh, so yeah, so the idea was it, so all of the debris that they're pulling up here is to then level this off more. So then we don't need to ship out the dirt. And since this elevation is so steep, we could level that off with the excess dirt. Yeah.
Do you have any more questions, comments?
I don't think so, I mean, everything sounds like you've done a really good job of trying to get this engineered. The existing wall's in really rough shape,
Yeah.
you know, so anything seems to likely be an improvement for our property, given what you're gonna do with it, so. Like I said, the shedding of the water is my main concern, cause. That could help with water.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all.
Any more questions from the board? Anybody online? Eric, once.
We have Tucker Cardy online who I believe
Yes,
is working
yeah.
on the application.
He's your guy.
Yeah, he's on it.
Okay.
He's just there to make sure I say everything.
Well, with that, does anybody objects otherwise, I get close to the ERP hearing and we'll deliberate on this. On the item. All right, thanks, awesome. And that is our meeting for the evening. We have nothing else on our agenda, yes? That's correct. All right, that's our meeting. So let's be sure. We open for deliberating on this one?
So, yes,
And I need to change.
Recording stopped.
let's get out of here, kids.